Rainbow Six Vegas is one of the ugliest, buggiest games I've had the pleasure of playing. Why is it so good? Hey everyone, as always Jarek here, and many of my old fans will remember this game very fondly. It's one of the games I grew my channel on. Rainbow Six Vegas, Killing Floor 1, Fear Combat, Halo, Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and 2, these were games I played very frequently on this channel back in the day. I have put thousands upon thousands of hours into this game. I took it pretty serious as a competitive game. I won numerous tournaments for it. I'm really good at it. And I had a lot of fun with it. That was the main reason I put so much time into it. This also includes the co-op of Terrorist Hunt. So notice I may say a lot of negative about this game, and that's because the games that you love the most are the ones you're the most critical of. I can point out all of its flaws because I've put so much time into it, and trust me, there's a lot of them. Just know that at the end of the day, I adore this game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Let's start with the most obvious thing about this game. It's butt ugly. Even when this game came out, I remember being disturbed by how poor the graphics were. This game came out in November of 2006, the same exact month of Gears of War. Yeah, that comparison doesn't exactly make Rainbow Six Vegas look very good, but I mean, let's be real, it just doesn't. Textures are blurry, models don't look that great, animations can be hit or miss. The audio design itself is rather lacking. It's incredibly difficult to tell whether someone is above you, below you, or on the same floor. The sound effects themselves sound fine, it's just the audio design itself isn't very good. Thankfully, the things that matter most seem to be the most polished. That being the guns and the cover system. I'm going to take a moment to talk about these guns because they're honestly the selling point of this game. Rainbow Six has a history of being a tactical shooter, and Rainbow Six Vegas wanted to bring that tactical shooter into the more mainstream market. This surprisingly ended up being my favorite Rainbow Six game, and yes, I played the Rainbow Six games before this. The sort of blend of real-time tactical shooteriness really vibed with me well. You die quick in this game, in a few shots, which is expected from a tactical shooter, so guns are incredibly important. All of the animations are accurate to how the real guns function. Some of them may not look particularly great, but most of them are pretty good for what's in the game. Except for the XM26, I don't know why in the world they decided to make this thing automatic. It's a bolt-action shotgun, not an automatic shotgun, but whatever. I'll talk more about this later, but I wanted to point this out now because aside from the rest of the game looking pretty ugly, they did do the guns justice. As you can guess by the title of the game, it takes place in Las Vegas. The concept of having a shootout on the Strip or on Fremont Street is just awesome. And while the graphics are pretty poor and lacking, I feel that they got the aesthetic of Las Vegas down really well. The neon and colors really pop out at you. Unfortunately, what also immediately popped out at me is the terrible FOV. And in general, just the lack of graphical options. Did I mention Vegas was a buggy game? Yeah, this is part of the reason why. If you go and look online, you will find a plethora of PC-related issues to Rainbow Six Vegas. Personally myself, I can launch the game and run the game without a problem, but I wouldn't be surprised if you run into one of the many issues when trying to play this game. The game is also coded in a very bizarre way, so trying to actually change anything in INI files just doesn't seem to work. And again, yes, this includes the FOV. I did find something in an INI file named the FOV angle. I didn't exactly know what this did, so I decided to mess with it, and I eventually found out that this is actually where the bullets come out of the screen at. Basically, if you raise the FOV angle, the bullets will be coming out of the right side of your screen. If you lower it, they will come out of the left side. But this does not change your FOV. So, yeah. You have pretty much no options. What you see here are the entirety of your graphical settings. As a reminder to people that start complaining whenever I mention these things, I don't mention them because I'm a PC snob and I need my graphics. No, you need to be able to fine-tune things to make the game run well. Anyway, let's move on to the story. I'm gonna give you the abridged version because honestly the story isn't that strong and I don't really want to sit here and tell you everything that happened. The start of the game takes place in Mexico. You can tell it's Mexico because the only color you will ever see is brown. You play as Logan, the lead of a Rainbow Six squad. Your squad mates are Gabe and Khan. You're in Mexico to arrest terrorist ringleader Irina. The end result of this mission is that Gabe and Khan end up getting kidnapped. Logan manages to make it out on his own, but you can't go after your squad mates. So, as it would seem, there's a mole. Someone is leaking information to the terrorist organization. At this point, your job shifts over to Las Vegas. And to be entirely honest, everything that happens from here to the very end of the game just doesn't matter to the story. It's all a bunch of terrorist distractions. And you know, that's fine. Generally, it's just an excuse like, oh, the terrorists have a bomb in, say, insert really popular tourist attraction in Las Vegas. Go see that tourist attraction. Yeah, everything at this point on is just an excuse to have firefights in well-known locations, again, like, say, the Strip. Once you're done cleaning up the mess in Las Vegas, you get pulled over to a dam where the terrorists have a missile that they're going to launch at Las Vegas. Here you finally kill Irina, you blow up this missile, and then at the very end of the game, Gabe reveals himself as the mole. And then the game just kind of ends. That's just the end of the game. Yeah, the story isn't that great in this game. There is a sequel, as you probably already know, named Rainbow Six Vegas 2. I'll cover that next week, but for right now, I'm talking as if Vegas 2 didn't exist. But honestly, who cares? You're here for the gameplay, right? That's the whole point of Rainbow Six Vegas, not the story. Keep in mind, at the time Rainbow Six Vegas came out, November of 2006, Gears of War came out that same month, Call of Duty 4 didn't exist yet. For the time, this was pretty innovative gameplay. No one really had a proper cover system down, and cover system shooters were not the mainstream thing. Not yet. They were going to be very soon. I've occasionally come across people that say that Rainbow Six Vegas ripped off Call of Duty 4, but that's physically impossible. If anything, Call of Duty 4 took innovation from Rainbow Six Vegas, which is not a bad thing. Anyway, whenever you take cover, the game shifts from first to third person. You're going to need to figure out this cover in and out. This cover system does not work like other games where once you take cover, you're basically safe no matter what. You have to keep track of the angles your enemies are going to be shooting at you from. If any part of your body is exposed, it is going to get shot. It doesn't matter if you're on cover. This is not a bad thing. This is actually a good thing. It's especially great for the multiplayer. When you're on cover, you can blind fire, but as the name suggests, blind firing is incredibly inaccurate. It's really only useful if you're taking cover on, say, a door and someone happens to try to walk through the door. If you try to move yourself left, right, or up, you will lean around or over whatever you're taking cover on. After you play enough of this game, you learn to manipulate your body's hurt box so that you won't get shot. For example, just after you've blind fired, shimmying along the wall a little bit to pull your hands back in. Competitive Vegas was all about this, so if you ever played multiplayer at any given moment, you should already know this. Oh, and as a reminder, you die in like 1, 2, 3 bullets. You die incredibly quick in this game. Typically, you just instantly fall over without much warning. Again, this is not a bad thing. It's a tactical game, and punishes need to be hard. Now let's talk about one of the other biggest mechanics in the game. Your squad members. You can tell them what cover to hide behind, their rules of engagement, or to stack up on doors. What changing the rules of engagement means basically means stealth or loud. Instead of throwing grenades, they'll throw flashbangs. Instead of shooting at any enemy they see, they'll only shoot back if shot at. A bunch of stuff like that. This also changes the way they breach doors. If the rules of engagement are loud and they stack up against a door, they have the option to open the door and throw a frag in, or put a breaching device on the door and just go in loud. If the rules of engagement are to only shoot back if shot at, then you have the option to, say, throw a flashbang in. This is incredibly important to learn, because if you die, you're dead. If your squad mates die, they can be revived. Usually. I still can't really figure out what makes them just sometimes die for seemingly no reason, while other times they can be revived. Point being, they are very useful to you. They are a resource you need to use. Unfortunately, when it comes to this resource, results may vary. Their AI can be incredibly intelligent, run in and kill everything, or it can be dumb as shit and just die over and over again. And a very similar thing can be said about the enemy AI. The enemy AI is a case of so bad it's good. They're coded in a specific way that I feel only really shines in terrorist hunts or maps with more ways to move around instead of the more linear story-based maps. Basically, sometimes they're brain dead and they won't notice you, and other times they just aimbot you with a shotgun from across the map. Regardless, these enemies are actually surprisingly satisfying to get rid of. Maybe it's their voice lines, because they have some of the best bad voice acting I've ever heard. I love these guys. They're just silly and say things that you don't expect. Although a lot of times they kind of bug out, and it really shows how dumb the AI can be. There's a lot of them down there, and they are all mad. What was that? And you're too... Listen to this! I don't know. Personally, when it comes to the AI, that's part of the charm of Rainbow Six Vegas. I would not change the enemy AI one bit. Now let's loop back to the thing that appeals to me most. the guns. You have a very wide variety of weapons to choose from. SMGs, shotguns, assault rifles, sniper rifles, light machine guns, and even a shield. Aside from the shields, all of these guns have attachments you can use. However, it generally is going to boil down to use a laser on an SMG and a shotgun, and use an ACOG on an assault rifle. Still though, having the variety and options is nice. A lot of the reasons why I go back to this game is because I think to myself, you know what, I really want to use the FAMAS in Rainbow Six Vegas. Or maybe the XM8. Or maybe the MP5. Or maybe the MP9. There are just so many guns to use, and they all have satisfying sounds. Although, the sounds are a little weird. The automatic weapons sound like a burst fire weapon being played on loop. And then they use a totally different sound effect on semi-automatic. Still though, they sound loud and punchy for a game that came out in 2006, and if they don't, you can call them things like a pissed off typewriter. But now we're going to be getting into the negative, and pretty much all of it boils down to the way they did difficulty. To clarify, I'm not saying a hard game is bad, and if anyone goes in the comments and says something along the lines of, wow, you just suck at this game, get good, I can guarantee you I'm better at them when it comes to this game. My complaint when it comes to the difficulty in this game is that normal is way too easy, and realistic is way too hard in ways that generally feel cheap. I think it boils down to the way they designed their maps. It feels like style over substance. For example, let's look at the strip level. The strip is an awesome place to be fighting. However, none of this is good cover at all. And that's a problem, because the entire game is based on a cover mechanic. Sure, you can take cover on these cars, but generally part of you is going to be exposed while doing so. It's also difficult to lean over these and shoot through them. This fight should be neutral, but it feels like you're at a disadvantage. But the strip is not one of the more difficult levels, so let's shift to a better example. Very often, this game will funnel you into a gunfight where there's not a whole lot you can do. In this situation here, you have a room with a ton of terrorists in 2 different floors. You do have 3 doors you can go through. One goes to the top floor, and the other 2 doors go to the bottom floor, though those 2 doors go to the same spot, so you really only have 2 doors to enter. Logic would dictate that you should have your squad stacked up on the bottom doors to breach in, while you go up top and clear out the enemies. That should be easy, right? The problem is that the AI of your friendlies, again, is not necessarily reliable, and the bottom floor is a meat grinder. There's no real proper cover there. You do have slot machines all over, but they're angled in a way that leaves you exposed if you try to get into a position where you can shoot back. So in general, your best option is to not use the cover here at all. Okay, well maybe you're thinking, let's go to the top floor then, you have the height advantage, right? The problem is there's no cover to look down. And these enemies can be aimbots, so the moment you try to look at them, they instantly get a headshot on you. If you're playing on realistic mode, you are going to die here a lot. It feels like these maps were based on what the artist wanted to see instead of what made for better gameplay. They're very linear and oftentimes puts you at a disadvantage like this. Or the game can just funnel you through one door, only one door you can go through, no other options, with 2 machine gunners shooting at you and enemies shooting at you from above. Seriously, what do they intend the player to do here? Do they want me to take cover here? That doesn't work, it leaves my body exposed, the cover is broken. I feel like they want me to take cover on these boxes in the middle, but that requires running through 2 machine gun fire and a bunch of terrorists at the end, so you're probably not going to make it. If you do, it's complete luck. Even then, when you take cover there are enemies above, so what do? I eventually got through this situation by sitting in the door with a sniper and telling my friendly AI to take cover on these boxes. It was complete luck that they made it there, and then they just decided to be God mode for some reason and killed all of the terrorists on the other end. As I said with these AI, results may vary, and they actually managed to kill everything. Aside from the one up top that spawns behind them, which I killed, and that was luck too, because it could have spawned on the other side where I can't see him. This is not the only room that acts like this, by the way. There's plenty of other situations that play out just like this. Oh, also, there was no checkpoint before this, so you're gonna have to go way back if you die, and you were going to. Yeah, that was something I forgot to mention. The checkpoints are ass in this game. Have fun replaying sections over and over again because it doesn't save after a cutscene. And then there's all the situations where the game just kind of decides you should die. At times, it genuinely does feel like dying is RNG. What killed me? I know there are enemies. Yeah, I can't see. Jesus, that's gonna. What would I have been able to do there? What the fuck? They instantly just lobbed 2 grenades on my feet. Really? There's no checkpoint after those fucking. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh yeah, the enemies like to throw grenades. There's no grenade indicator in this game. Even if there was, you can't sprint, so you wouldn't be able to get away in time. This is the reason why they pretty much always throw only flashbangs and smoke in Vegas 2. never frags, or incendiary grenades. Like, what am I supposed to do in these situations? You may be asking, why not just revert it to normal mode when the game gets difficult because it decides to be bullshit for the sake of being bullshit? That would be a good idea. The problem is, you can't change the difficulty once you started the game. If you wanted to put it to normal difficulty, you'd have to restart the whole game. So your option is play it on normal, which is way too easy, or play it on realistic and just randomly die to bullshit over and over. Now, keep in mind, all of this is being said in hindsight. We live in the year 2020, and for 2006, this was all brand new stuff. So for when it came out, it can be forgotten, but it definitely has some problems, and I've seen them after putting so many hours into the game. But to be honest, I kind of just don't care, because the story is not why I play Vegas. It's fine, it's experimental for its time, it can be enjoyable, but that's not why people stick around. People stick around in Vegas for Terrorist Hunt. Terrorist Hunt sounds simple, because it is. They place you on a multiplayer map with a set number of terrorists, you clear them out, you win. Easier said than done. This is where I would recommend putting it on realistic difficulty and raising the enemy density too high. That's the best experience for Terrorist Hunt. Some of these maps are significantly easier than others, like say LVU Campus, which you can clear in a matter of minutes, and some of these maps are incredibly difficult, like say the Warzone map, which has 70 enemies on it. Some of these maps are also difficult in other ways, like say Library, because there are so many ways you can be shot from. I love it. I cannot tell you how many hundreds upon hundreds of hours I put into Terrorist Hunt. It is way more fun than it has any right to be.
Why'd you...
Nice job, Circle.
What the fuck, Circle?
Circle.
Yes.
You didn't get a single kill that game.
That's because
Oh,
I
he got
killed
one
myself.
kill. He got a kill himself.
I got a kill?
Dear
killed
mother of
myself.
God.
Also, it's up to 4-player co-op, which is going to be useful because you only have one life while playing Terrorist Hunt. Once you die, that's it. So if you die and your 3 other friends are still alive, they stay alive. It fails when all of you die. There's no respawns. Honestly, this is fair. If you could respawn, it would just make it way too easy and then it would get boring. Terrorist Hunt is also the most terrifying thing I have ever played in any game. Terrorists just tend to show up and scare the shit out of you.
I don't see any. Oh my god!
Oh god, there's a lot of people up here!
How many is a lot?
Like 4,
Oh!
8 left. So I'm fairly certain I got one kill.
They're all gonna be running at you. They're in the room directly around the corner. Like, far left. Oh my god! Throw a grenade!
The way they're programmed is that once they recognize where you are, they start laying down covering fire. A few of the other ones may start walking around trying to flank you. Eventually the ones laying fire may also try to do this. When they're trying to flank you and know where you are, they don't speak to each other. So they suddenly show up behind you. This is why Terrorist Hunt works so much better than the campaign. This doesn't really work with linear levels. Honest to God, I feel the reason I got so good at Rainbow Six Vegas was because I put so many hours into Terrorist Hunt. You learn the multiplayer maps, you learn where you can and can't take cover, you learn when you can poke out and when you can't, you learn how to use the cover system to its full potential. This is just how you get good at the game, at least when it comes to fundamentals. Multiplayer obviously can be a different beast, and unfortunately I can't really speak about it. Multiplayer has been long dead for this game, and it's so old that I don't really have any footage of it, so I can't talk about it too much. What I can say is that the competitive multiplayer scene for Vegas was just amazing. Rainbow Six Vegas is still a ton of fun today, so if you haven't played it before, I would recommend you pick it up, play through the story once, forget it exists, and then play Terrorist Hunt till the end of time. Oh, also, something to mention about the story, I almost forgot. You can play it through co-op, but I wouldn't recommend it. Cutscenes don't play, and you don't get any dialogue. There's just no story, it's just the campaign missions, which are nowhere near as good as Terrorist Hunt anyway, so yeah, play through the story once, and then just go to Terrorist Hunt with your friends. One last helpful hint for this game, the fall damage puts even Doom 3 to shame. This will probably kill me, but let's try it. Yep. That's the fall damage in this game. I just got a checkpoint or I wouldn't have done that. Anyway, that's everything I have to say about Rainbow Six Vegas. I do adore this game, no matter how much I sit here and bitch about it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thanks to all of you that joined me over on Twitch. If you want to join me in the future, my Twitch is twitch.tv/JarekTheGamingDragon. If you subscribe, you get to see my videos ahead of time. Same thing with my patrons over on patreon.com/Jarek4, and I have a bunch of extra tiers over there if you want to check those out. Thank all of you for watching this video, and I will catch you next week for my video of Rainbow Six Vegas 2.